Hello, everybody. I'm Chandler,
And I'm Celeste.
and this is
True North
Terror.
Terror. And it's my birthday,
Woo!
bitches! Well, tomorrow, when you listen to this, it will be my birthday, the big 3-0.
Whoa.
Let me tell you, I'm feeling it.
Oh,
We celebrated last weekend, and for what I can remember, it was great.
it was a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
So we wanted to do a little bonus episode as my birthday gift to you.
Nice. On your own birthday.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone gets to you're welcome for being born.
Yeah,
You know?
there you go.
Like I am a gift of myself, but I will gift you with some extra
There you
stories.
go.
But we didn't really want to put too much work into it because I decided like last night that I wanted us to do this. So we decided we were going to just find some like spooky Reddit stories to read. I was actually inspired by, do you listen to the podcast Scared to Death?
No, I've heard of them.
Yeah, it's really good. Um, it's a husband and a wife. His name is Dan Cummins. He's actually a comedian,
Okay.
and he has another podcast that I do not listen to that I cannot remember the name of, but Scared to Death is him and his wife like tell each other spooky stories either from like Reddit or a creepypasta,
Oh, cool.
or like fan submissions, and they just try to like scare each other with them.
Oh, fun. I
Yeah.
like that.
So this is the vibe.
Cool. I'm
Yeah.
into this.
We turn the lights off, we have the candle lit,
Yep.
and thank God you're driving home with me because I'll probably be scared. Do you want to go first?
You go first. You're the birthday girl.
It is all about me, so sure I will.
There you go.
Okay, this is a Reddit story submitted by Yule Fox, and it is titled Unexplained and Terrifying Experience in Canadian Woods.
Woo.
I'm already scared.
Did it say where it's based out of?
I don't know. You know what?
Province?
I have not read my stories.
Oh.
I just went on and I like searched for like spooky Canadian stories, and then I just found like some that had like a longer
Mm-hmm.
story and a lot of comments. So I'm probably gonna scare myself.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I can't
Oh,
wait.
wait a minute. Before we get in, speaking of celebrating your birthday last weekend, quick shout out to Darren at the lake
Oh
because
yeah,
we totally broke his brain
we
that we
broke
that
his
we had a podcast.
brain. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we were talking about podcast, and we were like, yeah, we started a podcast, and Darren was like, you two, you're the host, like you started a show. We're like, yeah. And he's like, the two of you talked, like you host? Yeah. And then he's like, no, 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 no.
No,
So then
no.
he looked it up and he literally played it, and it's like, hi, I'm Chandler, I'm Celeste. And he looked at us and he was like, what?
So shout out to Darren.
Shout out Darren. Whatever we say to him. Hey mate.
Good day, mate.
Yeah. Say hi to Ginger for
Yeah.
me.
Ginger. Oh, good. That's awesome.
Anyways, okay, unexplained and terrifying experience in Canadian woods. As a child slash young teen, I lived in a very strange situation in the woods. I am not sure if this encounter may have been some kind of entity or perhaps something different. I hope someone can give me more information about what happened to me and my friend. I, female, was around 12 years old at the time, and one of my best friends, let's call him Alex, must have been around 10. Alex's father had purchased a large amount of forested land around 100 kilometers away from the city we lived in, Montreal. It was all forest when Alex's family acquired it. They cleared a little patch to build a house, and the rest was pure, unadulterated forest. Their land was cut in two by a dirt road that, if you followed it for several kilometers, led to a few houses, and their land was very different depending on which side of the dirt road you looked. On the right, where their house was, the forest was light and luminous, or at least it felt that way. It was not too dense, with little rolling hills, a lovely place to play. I don't know. On the left side of the road, though, it was another story. First, there was a deep ditch, perhaps 2 meters deep, which then became a very high and steep hill. Weirdly enough, all along the long road, the ditch was full of car parts. A set of car wheels here and a door there, a steering wheel way over there, all old and overgrown with moss. And over the steep hill, the forest gave off a really bad vibe. It had lots of very tall coniferous
Carnivorous.
okay, trees with almost black trunks, and the
Whoa.
place seemed somehow devoid of light or life. Climbing the hill, which we seldom were willing to do because of the creeps it gave us, there was some sort of swamp there. When we were there was this strange pressure. We sensed a kind of animal instinct that told us to leave this place. The strange atmosphere was spontaneously obvious to me and Alex, and we playfully called that side of the road Demon's Forest. Oh,
Uh,
hey.
he's just conjuring it.
Yeah. One weekend day, probably in 2001 or 2002, my family and I came to visit Alex's family. Bored by the adults, my friend and I decided to go and play in the forest. Alex's father told us to watch out. There was an animal that had been rummaging in their trash bin and causing other nuisances. He said it was a dog that looked somewhat like a Rottweiler that surely belonged to someone living up the dirt road. He warned us that we shouldn't interact with the dog if we saw it, as it didn't look healthy as far as he could tell, or something was weird about it. He said it somehow looked diseased or contagious, or had patches of fur missing, can't remember exactly. And so we set out on our walk. It was autumn and the leaves were pretty and golden. Many already have fallen to the ground. It was a calm, slightly overcast, windless day. The air was very still and calm. Alex and I decided to walk along the dirt road with the pleasant section of the forest to our right and Demon's Forest to our left. We chatted while following the road as it was rising up a slope. As usual, we were slightly creeped out going up the road because of the weird vibes of the forest to the left side, but we were challenging ourselves to be brave and trying to not really think about how unsettling it felt. A good distance away from their home, when it was already well out of sight, I noticed the first strange thing out of the day. Out of the steep hill on the left side of the road, there was a very large and dark pine tree hanging over the road. Somebody had attached a pink ribbon to one of the branches, which was already strange since this was the territory of Alex's family and they had no daughters or other little girls likely to hang around, or other people who may have been owners of pink ribbons who were likely to hang out on the deserted road. The strange thing was, the ribbon was flailing strongly in the wind. Its loose ends were flapping almost horizontally. However, it was a completely windless day. There was no wind to speak of.
What?
I'm already so stressed.
Weird.
The ribbon was within my reach, so I even touched it as it was flailing. I even licked my finger and held it in the air to check if I could feel any wind or air current at all, as my dad had taught me. The air was perfectly still, yet the ribbon flailed. I mentioned it to my friend. He seemed distracted and was younger than me and sometimes didn't catch on to what I said, so I didn't press the matter. We continued our climb.
Press the matter. Press the matter.
We reached a place where the hill on the left side of the road had a gentler slope and began further away from the road. In fact, it looked as if the hill was kind of carved out in a way that would have made it easy for us to climb. Oh my god, why would you scare the shit out of me? All of a sudden, he just did his
His
cat
stretch.
stretch. Oh my
Oh.
gosh. Okay, anyways, it was just like a shadow. Okay. It almost seemed as if the hill was carved in a sloping half circle, like in a theater, and the road we stood on would have been the stage. It gave us a very clear, treeless view of the hillside, full of golden and red fallen leaves. The trees began at the top of the hill, maybe 9 meters higher. We stopped to admire the view. Canadian autumns are a sight to behold. Alex suddenly got really excited. He thought he heard something in the demon woods up the hill, and he really wanted me to pay attention. He explained that there are wild cats in the forest that he had spotted them with his dad. One of them had reportedly had kittens, kittens being one of the most exciting things in the world for kids our age, getting us all riled up, but somehow my hackles were up and I couldn't really relax, even thinking about adorable wild kittens. He actually thought he had heard the cat meow in the forest up the hill, close by. I heard nothing of the sort and thought he was inventing it. He suggested that we try meowing at it to see if it would respond.
No, thank you.
No, no.
No, thank you.
Maybe it would even bring its kittens along and we could see them and play with them, he said. I hadn't heard any sounds at all, and I didn't really like the idea of screaming meows into the creepy forest. What kind of wild cat would respond to human children anyway? Wouldn't it be obvious that we were not cats by the sound of us? That seemed like a dumb idea to me. Before I could try to talk him out of it, he loudly meowed into the forest. Oh,
Oh man.
I feel like I'm gonna cry. To my utter shock, the forest meowed back.
Oh.
Alex was delighted. He meowed again. Something in the forest answered again. I was actually shocked. This didn't make sense to me, and it creeped me out, but I suspended my disbelief to see what would happen. He kept meowing over and over. For every one of his meows, there was one coming back in response from the woods. But something felt off to me. Feral or wild animals didn't behave that way. Even at 12 years old, I realized that. And it wasn't an echo. The cat did not bounce back any sound that we threw at it except meows, which it reciprocated immediately. And anyway, there were no hard, rocky surfaces around off of which sound could bounce off. Everything was covered in a soft layer of sound dulling leaves. Alex got even more excited. Listen, the cat is coming towards us. She's coming to us with her kittens.
No.
This was
No.
such a bad idea. To my surprise, he was right. There was a rustle of dead leaves coming from above us, from above the slope in the creepy forest. It seemed like the rustling was getting closer to us. But it was way off because cats are small and light and careful with their steps. They don't make a ruckus when they walk through the forest. But here, the rustling leaves sound was extremely obvious, along with the meowing. And in fact, it sounded more like steps, like someone with two legs walking in the leaves. And it was getting closer to us. My alarm signals were starting to go off with the wrongness of it all, while my younger friend was oblivious. He's just fucking meowing.
He's like, meow, meow, meow,
He was
meow.
calling it more vehemently, noticing that it was coming towards us. Alex is psyched.
He's like, yeah, yeah. Let's go, kitty. Come here, kitty.
Oh my gosh. Then I realized what was so
Oh my
wrong.
god.
The sound was coming towards us, but there was nothing to be seen. Right in front of us, we had the gently sloping hill, treeless and clearly visible. Anything coming from the forest should have been plainly exposed to view, but there was nothing. No source for the rustling sound, nothing moving. Her kittens are joining her. Listen, there are more sounds. They're coming to play with us.
No. No, 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 no.
He was right.
Alex, stop.
The walking sound seemed to have multiplied and now came from various directions at once, ever getting closer, with nothing being visible. Oh, excuse me, I'm so stressed. Something was way off. I wanted to leave, but Alex was getting mad at me. The kittens were almost here, and he wanted to see them. He insisted. At this point, I was extremely tense, and fight or flight was activating from the wrongness of it all. We were alone and quite exposed on this theater stage to whatever was getting close to us, which was more and more obvious with every moment. Decidedly not kittens. I was on the verge to force him to go run home, and then suddenly I heard a very loud panting sound right at my feet.
No.
During the first millisecond, I got only mildly surprised. We had a huge husky at home. I was used to it panting next to my feet. But then, a sense of profound dread drowned on me as I realized that, obviously, my dog was not here. And it must be another dog, a very big one by the sounds of it, right at my feet. I panickingly looked down, ready to jump away from the dog that somehow got extremely close to me, almost on me, without me noticing. Only there was absolutely nothing at my feet. But I still hear the sound. breathy panting, sound coming from there. I whirl around, all 360 degrees, screaming, "Where is it coming from?" But there is nothing at my feet or anywhere around me. There is nothing there, yet
What
the
the
sound
fuck?
is clearly there. As I whirl around in a frenzy, I look up the dirt road we were following. Around 100 meters away, of the top of the slope, I see a lone dog standing. It looks similar to a Rottweiler, but in very, very bad shape.
No.
Extremely unkempt, with patches of fur missing, shaggy and dirty as heck, with some skin exposed where the fur is missing. It looks down at us, too. Obviously, there's no way that I could hear it panting at that distance, and the source of the sound is at my feet. At that point, flight instinct wins. I have never run as desperately and as fast in my whole life.
Yeah, get out
Thank
of there.
thank goodness it was all
Leave Alex there.
downhill. Alex kept pace right beside me, terrified.
Well, you could have left him. Fuck him.
Yeah, you know what? He wanted to play with the freaking cats.
Let him hang out with the kittens.
We made it home in one piece. We didn't walk in these woods anymore.
Yeah.
I came back to Alex's place several times in my life. I never wanted to walk in the woods again. We had amazing parties at his house as teens. I was often there, rather drunk and having a great time, but I always had this very stressful sensation when I went out of the house, especially at night. When I slept over there, I had those extremely strange experiences where, when I woke up, I sensed as if something was there and
Ugh.
observing me. In my mid awake
Ugh.
state, I even saw something floating near the ceiling. It had the sensation that it was not an immediate threat, though. It was observing. I am not sure that whatever this is was related to what happened on the dirt road. We never discussed what happened that day.
As you should.
As I researched it now, I see that this land is historically Algonquin land. If anybody can help clarify what happened, I would be thankful.
Wow. When was this posted?
2 years ago.
Damn. Wow. Wow. That was a good. And are there
Yeah,
any memorable top comments?
I'm just reading them now. It says, sounds like a Hallmark encounter with a Jinn.
Jin.
DJINN.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting.
It was great storytelling.
That was awesome. That's what I love about Reddit, man.
Yeah.
Reddit people are awesome.
Yeah, like they took the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
okay.
it's my turn. And I got all my stories from one user. His name, user Manon underscore Lyset. And all of his stories here are on r/no sleep. But I made sure that they're from Canada. This guy said he's Canadian and said there's all these stories are Canadian. So this first one I have here, the title is I noticed a pattern going through old workplace incident reports.
Hate that already.
Yeah. 10 years ago. For the first 3 years after graduating college, I toiled away as a temp worker, bouncing from agency to agency in the hopes of finding somewhere that would hire me for good. The economy being less than favorable, it was hard to find a job in my field. With student loans eating away at my meager paychecks, I decided it was time to lower my expectations and apply for a permanent position with a reasonable salary, regardless of whether or not it would fit my skill set. That's how I ended up working for the Office of Risk Management at the local university. Seems like that would be a good paying job.
Yeah.
Risk Management
Yeah.
University?
I mean, I know nothing
No,
about that,
I don't
but
know. I'm just a stupid
I'm
blue
just a girl,
collar
so
guy. My duties were limited to the oh so thrilling administrative tasks of following up on a backlog of accident reports, ensuring they were properly filled out, sorting old files, and archiving them. Just when I thought I was going to drown in the monotony, I started noticing something strange with several reports. It was a Friday afternoon when I realized something was amiss. After a long and boring week, it was taking all my willpower not to doze off on the stack of papers in front of me. Just as I felt my head dipping and eyelids growing heavy, an answer on the questionnaire I was reading filled me with a deep sense of deja vu. Whether there any witnesses to this event? The employee had checked the yes box and written a quick description: a man in a red shirt. I squinted at the simple words on the page. They were so familiar, but I figured my brain was just lagging from end of week funk. I probably just read the question twice without giving it much thought. I finished reading through the document and moved on to the next report. That's when the very same question caught my eye. Were there any witnesses to this event? Yes, adult male in his 40s, burgundy sweater.
Who are you?
It had to be a coincidence, right?
There are no such thing.
No. I checked the first report again and started comparing the two. The incidents had occurred in different buildings and happened about 2 weeks apart. One dealt with a man suffering from a heart attack, while the other was a simple case of sprained ankle. The only common elements between the two reports were the man in red and the fact that his contact information was missing.
Because he's a ghost.
Yep. Usually we get a name and a phone number in case we needed a testimony. I tried to get back to work, but the feeling of deja vu persisted. I felt like this wasn't the first time I'd read about the man in red. Unable to focus on my insufferably boring job, I started going through the reports I'd archived earlier that week. Sure enough, a man watching the witness's description was present in other case files. He was described using a variety of different adjectives, but each painted the same picture: a somewhat tall man with dark hair in his mid-40s wearing a crimson sweater and black pants. No contact information available. Yes, middle-aged gentleman in a crimson sweater. Yes, stranger wearing head, approx 5'9", brown hair. Yes, guy sitting on a bench, about 45 years old, didn't get his name. It went on and on. The fact that the Office of Risk Management hadn't noticed the reoccurrence didn't surprise me all that much. I'd been looking at these reports all week and had only been alerted to it because I was reading them back to back.
Contact Ouija board.
The accident reports arrived weeks, months, sometimes even years apart, so I didn't blame my colleagues for their oversight.
Fair.
There was only one conclusion I could draw from the bizarre phenomena.
It's a phenomenon.
The man was somehow the cause of these accidents. Why would he have been on the scene of so many? If he'd only been spotted once or twice, I could have chalked it up to coincidence, but there was a clear pattern here. I had at least 10 reports mentioning him. Was he a disgruntled employee trying to get back at the university for firing him? Was it sabotage? Questions swirling in my head. I went home for the weekend, relinquishing the investigation to my future self. It's a Monday problem. When Monday morning came, I was surprisingly eager to get back to work. Something about the situation had triggered my inner sleuth. With a pair of fresh eyes, I re-examined the reports and drew the exact same conclusion. It had to be foul play. Something had to be done, and I felt it was my responsibility to make sure it wouldn't get swept under the rug.
You go, girl.
Yeah. My boss needed to hear about this. With a stack of reports under my arm, I knocked on Mr. Johnston's door. "Come in," he called, a voice muffled by the thick wooden door guarding his office. I stepped inside and waved meekly. As soon as I saw Mr. Johnston, I lost my nerve. I'm sure he didn't try to look intimidating, but something about his perpetual scowl and thick arched eyebrows slashed away at my confidence.
He had a resting bitch face.
That RBF. It'd be unfair to accuse him of being apathetic, but he certainly made no effort to make me feel more at ease. With a flick of the wrist, he invited me to take a seat while I shakily held the reports against my chest. A deep and calming breath was all it took to give me enough courage to hand him the files. I began pointing out every instance of the man in red, fully expecting Mr. Johnson to take matters seriously. And that's where you were wrong.
Yeah. He's like, no, girl.
He looked at the papers quietly, rubbing his temples as though battling a headache. The bitter look on his face as he shuffled through the reports made me even more nervous than I already was. I felt like a kid sitting at the principal's office waiting for a review. Suddenly, the stern look on his face broke. He started laughing a hearty laugh as he tossed the papers back towards me. "You shitting me, kid? The school colors are garnet and gray. People wear red all the time to show support. There's nothing weird about it," he told me. It's not just the shirt color, I protested. Everyone describes the same guy. Older white male, dark brown hair. He waved his hand in a dismissive manner. You just described half the faculty members, kid. He had a point, but even if he was right, we were dealing with multiple people.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, wasn't it still strange that the contact field was consistently left blank?
Yes.
What about his missing information, I asked. The boss shrugged at me. You need to lay off the crime dramas, kiddo. There's nothing weird about it. More often than not, we don't get everyone's contact information. Whether they're wearing red, blue, or hell rainbow, for all I care, it's not a big deal. Unfortunately, he was right. I'd been so focused on the man in red that I hadn't thought about how we dealt with other witnesses. Oftentimes, several people were listed on the forum, but we only collected one or two names. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that my instincts were right, even if the boss argued otherwise. I'm sorry, you're right, I lied. I'll get back to work now. Sorry I bothered you. I couldn't risk pressing the matter. The last thing I wanted was for my boss to think I was some sort of conspiracy nut, and I couldn't afford to lose this job. We exchanged a cordial goodbye, and I returned to my office. It was time for a bit of an ethical no-no. There was only one way to get more information. I had to contact the victims directly.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Under the guise that I needed clarification on their reports, it wasn't a complete lie. Their files were ready to be archived and forgotten, but it was the only chance I had. I sent emails to dozens of employees. Oh, fuck, my neck hurts. But only 3 agreed to meet me. Interview 1. Christine Boone. I was nervous as I made my way to the office of a woman who twisted her ankle outside Lamoureux, one of the buildings on the east end of campus. Following her accident report, it was determined she'd slipped on a cracked chunk of pavement, a section of the sidewalk that was subsequently demolished and repaved to prevent a similar incident from happening in the future. What the fuck am I doing here? I'm gonna just adjust this. Go hard or go home. What are you doing? There we go. Really get in there. If nothing else, the Office of Risk Management was efficient at enforcing changes, though it was less about ensuring the safety of students and employees and more about preventing lawsuits. That's most companies.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Mrs. Boone's office smelled like potpourri left out in the sun for too long. Paintings of flowers adorned the walls, and a faux stained glass ornament hung from the window, creaking with each rotation. I had trouble keeping my eyes off the hypnotic mix of colors it projected on the walls. So you hear about my accident? She asked suddenly. I took a seat on the patchy guest chair and nodded yes. Can you tell me what happened? I asked. Talking to people was never really my strong suit. I wasn't sure where to start or what to ask her. Thankfully, she started telling her story while I followed along with her report. I was carrying a box of supplies to the arts department. I got distracted by something and my heel caught a crack. Before I knew what happened, my ankle snapped and I fell,
Ouchies.
she explained. I cringed. Sounds painful. It was, she replied. Do you normally take that route? I inquired. Yeah, but I'm usually careful when I walk around campus. The sidewalks are in awful shape, so I have to watch my step. You're lucky, you know. Navigating this old campus is pretty tough in high heels, she answered, motioning to her stilettos. I glanced at her report, unsure whether or not to bring up the man in red. You said you were distracted that day? What distracted you? I pressed. Just some weird guy, she said. Weird guy? Mrs. Boone nodded. Just a really weird guy. He gave me the creeps. He was standing in the middle of the sidewalk, 10, maybe 15 meters ahead of me. He was staring right at me. It made me feel really uneasy. I was trying to sidestep him when I felt some kind of pull on my ankle. I twisted it and fell. He saw the whole thing happen and never lifted a hand to help me. What an asshole. My lips twisted in a frown. Wow, I murmured sympathetically. She leaned back against her chair and glanced at the ceiling. Weird thing is, he kind of just disappeared. I mean, at that point, I was tending to my foot, but I swear 1 second he was there and next he was gone. That sounded strange. I flipped through her questionnaire and pointed to the entry about the man in red. Was it the guy you described here? I asked. She reached for a pair of reading glasses, took a look at the paper, and nodded. Yeah, He saw the whole thing, but like I said, he must have ran off or something. Maybe I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he ran to get help, I don't know.
No,
Have
he
you
didn't.
have you seen him since? I asked. She shook her head. No, but if I ever do, I'm sure I'd recognize him. Something about the dark look in his eyes. I'll never forget it.
A demon.
Yeah, man. That was all I needed to hear. But I asked her a few follow-up questions to make my interview seem a little more legitimate. I did I didn't want her running back to my boss asking questions. Once that was done, I ended the interview. I'm gonna grab some water.
The dog was just like, no, I'm done walking.
Is it a little black dog?
No, it's a big golden mix.
Interview 2. Andrea Harmon. A few days passed between my first and second interview, but by then I'd practiced what I was going to say. I wanted to come off as confident and professional, but as soon as I saw the women in front of me, I found myself faltering. Andrea Harmon was a very attractive lady, the kind of woman that stop any man dead in their tracks. She'd suffered a stroke a few years prior while at the gym, but you wouldn't know it looking at her. I swallowed hard and adjusted my suffocatingly tight collar. I babbled hesitantly. Can you describe what happened to you the day of the stroke? I stuttered. She seemed strangely calm for someone who had suffered through a traumatic event. Then again, it had happened a while ago, so I wasn't. So it wasn't as though the pain was still raw in her mind. I just started going back to my normal routine at the gym, trying to get rid of my belly fat. I had to be put on bed rest for the last 2 months of my pregnancy, so I was really looking forward to moving around and getting in shape again, she explained. She certainly didn't look like she had any belly fat on her. Well, this guy's fucking horned up. So you were working out when it happened? I questioned, regaining my composure. She nodded. Yes, I remember everything clearly up until the stroke. Then things get a little fuzzy, she told me. Just tell me what you remember, I replied, as I tried my best to avoid looking down her blouse. This guy's super
Oh my
horny.
goodness! I didn't realize this was rated R. Rated R for risque.
She drummed her fingertips along her desk absent-mindedly. Her eyes wandered towards the corner of her office. I was well into my workout. I picked elliptical 6 because that's my favorite number. So I was doing good, really good. I kept telling myself, that's it, Andrea. Keep going. Get rid of that baby bump to stay motivated. Then something caught my attention. The heart rate monitor on the screen turned on. She paused, turning to me to see my reaction. Confused, I raised an eyebrow. The grave look in her eyes suggested I should have noticed something unusual with her statement. What's so odd about that? I asked. I wasn't holding the sensors, she said sharply while making grabbing motions with her hands.
Ew.
I had one of those fancy watches with an integrated heart rate monitor. My husband had gotten it for me when I told him I wanted to get back in shape. He was always there for me like that, explained Andrea. So the monitor starts flashing numbers 90, 100, 145, but I swear I wasn't holding the bars. My own monitor was showing a stable 125 to 130 BPM the whole time. Looking back, I guess that was the first sign of the stroke. I guess I was imagining it, but it got worse than that. As the heart rate monitor continued to increase, I started to feel like something was pushing against me, like there was someone on the elliptical behind me.
Ew.
She said, her face contorting in disgust. That must have been pretty scary, I commented. It was. I turned out a few times that no one was there. Gave me goosebumps, man. Again, I realized it was probably a side effect of the stroke. She paused and frowned. It wasn't long before I saw my face in the mirror. The right half was drooping. I knew something was up right away, and I tried to call for help. I tried to speak, but my tongue felt swollen, and I couldn't get the words out. It was terrifying. I was trapped in my own body, and it felt like someone was touching me. I could feel arms wrapped around my torso and squeezing the air out of my lungs.
What?
I could feel hands on my face stretching my skin down.
Ew.
Did anyone notice what was happening at this point? No one. Not even the guy on the elliptical to my right. I was embarrassed to go to the gym during peak hours, so I picked a time where it was empty. But of course, this socially inept jerk decided it was fine to take the machine next to mine
Ugh,
when all the
rude.
other ones were free. Can you imagine? I kept catching him staring at me in the mirror during my workout, but he didn't react at all when I started having the stroke, she said, sounding appalled. Wait, was there was someone next to you and he didn't do anything? I asked, surprised. Yeah, a guy in a garnet sweatshirt, way too hot to wear for a workout, but who am I to judge? He was going real slowly on his elliptical, too, like he was playing out a scene in slow motion. Tried to wave to get his attention, but my arms wouldn't move. That's as much as I remember. Apparently, I fell face first, and then someone finally called the ambulance.
Ouchies.
Yeah, that sounds like it sucked. She informed me. Did anyone speak to the man in red? I asked. She shook her head. I only filled out the accident report weeks later when I got out of the hospital. By then, they said it was impossible to track him down, and he didn't come forward on his own. There were a couple of witnesses who did come forth, though, so I figured one less didn't matter. I pretended to write something on the chart, then smiled and pulled away. All right. Thank you very much for your help. I think that's all about I need to know. I told her. Something about what she said stuck with me. I went to the gym a couple times a week. The ellipticals were placed sequentially from left to right, 1 to 6. She'd been on elliptical 6 when it happened, which meant it was the last on the row. How was it then that she'd seen the man in red to her right?
Oh.
Ooh. Interview number 3, Brandon Druga. Let's make one thing perfectly clear, Brandon said dryly as he escorted me to a quiet room at the far end of the hallway. I'll answer your questions, but make it snappy. I've got a department to run and a meeting in 10.
Okay, chill.
Yeah, settle down. We sat in a tiny space with nothing but 2 conference rooms, chairs, a desk, and a landline. The suited man in front of me fiddled with his cell phone, never giving me a second glance. It was clear to me that he only agreed to meet because he thought it was mandatory. I was determined to make sure he never found out it wasn't. He looked like the kind of guy who'd easily have me fired if he discovered the truth. Right. I just want to go over the accident report you filled a couple months ago, I said, nervously. Already I could feel sweat trickling down the sides of my face. Mr. Druger rubbed his thick salt and pepper beard with one hand while answering emails with the other. What about it? He asked impatiently. I knew I didn't have much time with this guy, and frankly, I didn't want to spend much time with him anyways. So I cut to the chase. You reported seeing a man in red. I was wondering if you could tell me more about him, I requested. For a split second, the stern expression on his face faded. I could have sworn I saw fear in his eyes. However, it wasn't long before his poker face reappeared. He was in the stairwell when it happened, on a platform between 2 flights. I didn't hear him go up or down the stairs ahead of me, so I think he'd been standing there for a while. He added, lowering his voice. He didn't look right. I can't really explain it. Something about him made my damn skin crawl. Did you speak to him? I asked. Yes, I asked him what the fuck he was doing there, but he just glared at me. Then I started feeling winded, and I'm a healthy guy, okay? I don't care what the doctors say. I didn't have cholesterol problems. My ticker was fine. There was no reason for me to have a heart attack, he said, slamming his hand against his desk angrily. Was he implying what I thought he was implying? Did he just have too much pride to admit he had health issues? Before I could ask another question, he spoke again, his voice even lower. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how crazy this sounds. I'm telling you, that guy, he wasn't normal, murmured Mr. Druga as he averted his gaze. He gave me the heart attack. I just know it. I was taken aback by his bold claim. You mean because he startled you? The man shook his head, but he didn't volunteer more information. It felt as though Brandon wanted to say more, but couldn't bring himself to open up. He needed to be coaxed. Hoping to gain his trust, I took the honest route and explained myself. Do you think he triggered the heart attack somehow? Look, Mr. Druga, I don't want to be forward, but I've been researching this man. I don't think you're the first person who's seen him. I think he's been going around campus hurting people. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, but I need answers. Can you help me? Brandon hesitated once more, then finally opened up. What I tell you today, you can't repeat to anyone, understood? He asked. Understood. I don't think it was human. This is going to sound insane, but but I know what I saw. He didn't have a reflection. He didn't have a shadow in his legs. His legs kind of faded halfway down. He whispered in a voice so low I had to strain to hear him. I swear he was some kind of ghost. That was the last thing I expected to hear from someone like Mr. Druga. I think Brandon saw the look of shock in my eyes. I hoped it wasn't going to make him clam up again. Thankfully, he finished. I felt fine up until I saw him. The entire stairwell suddenly became cold, and I started feeling pressure in my chest. I fell over, clutching my shirt. Just as I started blacking out, I heard him laugh. Next thing I knew, I was being pulled onto a stretcher. We sat there in silence for a long moment. I was digesting what he had told me, and he seemed lost in thought. An alarm on his phone went off, causing me to jump out of my skin. Your meeting? I asked. Yes, he replied. Thank you for your time. I promise I'm not going to tell anyone you told me about this. Liar! It's on Reddit.
Yeah, it's
Come
on the
on.
internet.
He gave me a
Sorry, you told
short nod
everyone.
and headed to the door, but stopped as he passed the threshold. Told me if you get to the bottom, it's okay, he requested. Yeah, I answered. Once the interviews were done, I returned to my office and glanced at the reports that mentioned the man in red. I spread them across my desk to try and find a connection. When I ran out of desk room, I used the floor. It was as I was spacing them out that I finally found the link between them. Every single sighting of the man in red had occurred in or around the same 4 buildings. These weren't just any random buildings on campus either. They formed the perimeter around one of the university's main parking lots. Even still, the buildings had very little in common except for their proximity. Vanier, the oldest of the 4 facilities, was built in 1954. It closed down for a while but was renovated recently to make room for a school of psychology. Montpetit, found diagonally across the parking lot from Vanier, was built in 73 and has since been host to the gym, a swimming pool, and the largest library on campus. Lamoureux, Montpetit's next door neighbor, was built in 78. It was later connected to Montpetit and Vanier through a series of overpasses. And FSS, the university's shiny new state-of-the-art social sciences facility, was finished in 2012 with all floors connected to Vanier. Some consider it to be the new wing of the old building. Like I mentioned earlier, at the center of these 4 buildings was a parking lot. This summer, the lot was fenced off for construction work. The university wanted to turn the area into a green space and courtyard. It was supposed to be done by the start of the fall semester, but construction crews came across several setbacks, the most notable of which was the car that they unearthed about a month ago.
Oh yeah, this is promising.
Yeah. The license plate on the car dated it back to the late 1960s. Apparently, before the parking lot was a parking lot, there had been some sort of student housing facility, which had been bulldozed in the early 70s. It was assumed the car had been abandoned inside the old residence and buried along with it. I decided to cast a wider net. Going back through decades of accident reports in and around those 4 particular buildings, I found the burgundy-clad man every so often. He was first seen in 75 when the scaffolding came apart and caused a construction worker to fall to his death.
Oh dang.
Yeah. He was present in 2003 when a student slipped on the ice and was paralyzed from the waist down. He watched from a window when one young woman fell down the main stairs and broke her arm.
Oh my gosh.
And he was even spotted sitting in a reading room in the library when a man suffered a seizure.
Bro, chill.
Yeah, he was all over the place with reports dating back 20, sometimes even 30 years. Today, construction work on the parking lot came to a complete stop. The area was cordoned off by the police. I walked by just in time to see them pull out the skeletal remains of a man in an old, tattered red pullover. Yeah. Spooky.
Oh, I mean, it was obviously a ghost, but
Yeah,
like,
for
chill
sure.
out, bro.
Come on, man.
Like,
Oh,
you don't need to be so rude.
yeah. Oh, I died. Get over it.
Get over it.
Come on. Get over it, man.
Okay, my
That was
next.
a long one. I liked that, though. That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
I gotta adjust myself here to get comfortable so I'm not fucking straining my neck so much.
My next one is a big
Whoa, calm down, Chandler.
Bigfoot sighting.
Ooh.
So this was reported by Lara C. Morley. I was gonna say Alabama, Alberta. It's getting late.
It is.
In 1980. I told my family I saw a Sasquatch and they told me they saw him too. In 1980, our family lived in Morley, Alberta, Canada, close to the bridge and the school. We played all throughout the area on motorbikes, making forts in the woods and exploring near the banks of the Elbow River. My older brother was 14 years old and my sister was about 18 years old. I was only 10 years old. I remember watching a tall, big figure traversed the foothill behind what is now the community school. What struck me at first, it was large and moved very fast, though it was not running. The figure was dark against the pale straw colored hill. I knew immediately it was not a human. It was upright and moved on 2 feet. I also remember it had a funny shaped head. In my 10-year-old mind, it was as if he had balanced a cap on the crown of his head instead of pulling it onto his head. It was moving away from us. I don't remember my siblings being with me, so I was happy that they both said that they remember the same thing as I do and verified the experience. They were able to relate more details as they experienced a little better because they were older. My sister relates that he was grayish, had hair all over his body, had the oblong head, had no clothes on, and was bipedal and moving quickly. My brother remembers that it was very large, estimating over 8 feet, and again, the oblong head. We all remember that he was traveling through the same location and in the same direction behind the community school towards. I don't remember what day it was or when it happened. It must have been either just approaching winter or coming into spring. The trees were bare, the bush on the hill he was moving on was scarce. There was no snow, and if there was, it was just a small, insignificant patch. We saw him clearly in the daylight. He was not trying to conceal himself in the trees that ran along the river. He did not stop. None of us remember feeling afraid, and all of us knew what it was. We didn't ever talk about it, but not because we were ashamed or scared. It was as if we had simply seen a moose or something.
That's not a moose. Come on. That's not a moose. Also, if you see a moose, you go, hey, look at that moose.
Yeah, when me and Lindsay were driving to Thunder Bay for the dog show in I think I don't know, in May or June.
Yeah.
She was like, I really want to see a moose. I really want to see moose. And I was like, moose aren't real. They're cryptids. Like, I've never seen a moose. They're not real. And we had gotten about halfway, and right on the highway there was a moose, and she was like, moose, moose, fucking moose. And she was just
That's awesome.
So now anytime I hear moose, or think of moose, I have to say moose, moose, fucking moose. Shout out Lindsay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, you have 2 more. I have 1 more.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, it was just a short one.
Oh, that's nice.
I just wanted to talk about Bigfoot. So I need to give a Bigfoot shout out every once in a while.
Bigfoot action. All right, I got some 2 shorties here. I don't know how shorty it is, but this one's from the same horny writer.
Oh, good. What is it? Because mine is also from r/no sleep, or is that a pay? What is that?
That's a page. That's the community.
Okay, so
if it's an r/, that's the community.
I don't know how Reddit works.
Or u/.
Okay,
And
mine
then
says
communities are r/.
mine says deleted.
So it's not this guy because
Okay.
that just means they deleted their account,
Okay.
but their post stays up.
Oh,
I'm gonna try just laying down so I don't have to stress my neck. My neck is really sore for some
you're
reason.
so dramatic.
I know, I'm being a little baby. This one is titled A Man in the Blizzard.
Oh, I hate a blizzard.
Yeah. Good old Manitoba blizzard. Yesterday, as I was vacationing in the Maritimes, a massive blizzard hit the region. I saw something out in the storm, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Oh boy.
Even though it's now bright and sunny outside, I'm almost glad my flight home got canceled, because at least now I can stay inside where it's safe. I'm afraid of what might be hiding out there in the snow drifts. I woke up fairly late last morning. The basement apartment I rented for the week was practically pitch black, so I was startled to see it was already 10 a.m. when I got around to checking the time. No light was coming in through the blinds and the windows, making it seem as though it was still night. When I flipped open the blinds, I saw a wall of snow fully concealing me from the outside world. Grabbing my coat, I climbed the squeaky and narrow staircase leading to the side door. I could hear wind furiously hissing through a crease in the wall.
Just stay home.
Yeah.
Where are you
Just
going?
Go back to bed.
Where
Go
are you
back to bed.
going?
I had heard about the region's infamous storms, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened when I opened that door. I was assaulted by a violent breath of snowy air. It nearly knocked me back, but I managed to grab hold of the handrail probably. Snow continued to invade the corridor and dart painfully into my eyes, making it almost impossible to see the tall snow bank that had once been a rental car. It took all my strength to get the door shut. As I returned to the quiet safety of my basement, I told myself there was no fucking way I was going outside again until the storm subsided. I grabbed my laptop and checked out what people had to say on Twitter about the snow apocalypse. One helpful user posted a link to the city's traffic cameras along with a single word, creepy.
Yep.
Reassured
Where
that
is this? I missed it.
the Maritimes.
Okay, sorry.
Reassured that I wasn't the only out-of-towner disturbed by the sheer amount of snow, I followed the link to see how bad Main Street looked. The screen was practically all white, though I could make out a few buildings when the snow died down a bit. Though I'd been around snow all my life, I had never witnessed a blizzard firsthand, and I felt a little excited to be part of it. It was then I noticed something odd in the street. There seemed to be a man standing in the flurry of snow.
Oh.
Thinking nothing of it, I switched to the other traffic cameras, checked out the rest of town, and eventually grew bored and shut the laptop so I could get breakfast. A few hours passed, but I could still hear Mother Nature having a temper tantrum outside. Bored, I looked at the traffic cameras again, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I switched to Main Street. The fucking guy was still there. Sure, some people enjoyed the cold, but this was ridiculous. He'd been standing there for hours. I switched to Main Street's secondary camera, which gave me a view from the other side of the street. Hoping to see a squad car nearby and maybe the guy was a traffic cop? Nothing. Not a damn thing. The snow-coated street was empty, except for a single human standing front and center. He gave me the creeps. Had he really been standing there the whole time?
Yes,
I felt a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, as though I knew some weird shit was going down. Even though there could have been a perfectly logical explanation I was overlooking, suddenly the power went out and I screamed like a kid.
Ooh.
Using the laptop screen to light the way, I searched the apartment for a flashlight. Fortunately, the power came back on after about a half hour. By the time internet service was restored, another hour had gone by. I had only one thing in mind, finding out whether or not that scary motherfucker was still outside. This guy's funny. I ran straight for the traffic cam. Wouldn't you know it, hadn't fucking moved.
Oh my god.
I could see him swaying back and forth calmly as though he completely unaffected by the chaos around him.
Like, did he escape from the home?
Maybe. Looking at him made me feel nervous, yet I could not avert my gaze. Due to the heavy snow, I could only make out his general male form and a brownish coat. The weirdest thing about him was that there didn't seem to be any accumulation of snow on or around him, which was quite a feat considering everything else was covered in over 50 centimeters of snow.
Oh, that's a lot of snow.
Just as I had had enough, I was about to switch off, someone else appeared in view.
Oh.
It was a woman wearing a long blue coat. She was walking down the street one arm shielding her face from the elements while the other stretched in front of her, as one would do in the dark to avoid running into things. The man took a single step towards her. At that moment, a gust of wind obscured the scene in a snowdrift. Once it cleared away, the figures were standing side by side, swaying in unison. I jumped to my
What?
feet and power walked around the apartment, trying to jerk away the creepiness and goosebumps riding up my spine while muttering, "Oh, hell no," a dozen times under my breath. Over the course of the evening, I periodically checked out the live feed. The figures remained in the frame, but they started moving closer and closer towards the camera
Ew, I hate that.
until they were out of sight. I had to change angles to spot them off in the distance towards a third figure before losing sight of them completely.
Oh no.
Maybe I'm freaking out over nothing,
No,
but
you're not.
shit, I'm really spooked. I feel like they were standing out there somewhere. I feel like they're still standing out there somewhere, you know?
They are.
Has anyone else seen weird people in traffic cams? I can't possibly be the only person who saw these guys. They were
Ew.
there for almost 12 hours. Either way, I'm stuck here until tomorrow, so I'm just going to stay inside where it's safe. If you're in the Maritimes, I suggest you do too.
Ew, I hate that.
Isn't that fucking spooky?
Were there any comments?
I might be able to find that Reddit story.
Because you put on your word, right?
Here, hold on. Pulling it up. Stand by.
Please hold.
Stand by, Robin. Would have been good if you gotten a pic of that. That's so fucking terrifying. No, really, if you really think about it, the whole idea of seeing that lasting all those hours is freaking horrifying. There's New Brunswick.
Okay.
Oh, my eyes. Maybe they're dead? That's crazy.
Maybe.
Are you in Boston? If so, try r/53 in the snow. I think that's or u/53 in the snow. I think that's his username, but he has a bunch of on r/no sleep about something in the snow in Boston.
Hmm.
Same storm, different location.
Interesting.
No, they were just having fun in the snow. Go join them.
Just making snow angels. They didn't know how to make snow angels. They're just swaying back and forth. They didn't get the memo. They had to like lay on the ground.
It's
Yeah.
just swaying. Well, this next one is about the same length. But you go.
Okay. My last one is I'm a Canadian paranormal investigator. Here is a retelling of the most terrifying case in my career.
Ooh,
Oh no.
this sounds fun.
2006, Calgary, Alberta. My crew and I had received a phone call from an Edmonton resident from in the west side of the city complaining about the bizarre amount of screaming that can be heard in her neighborhood.
Oh, hell no.
She said that there was an old condemned hospital near where she lived. She then went on about how people say that it's just crackheads and homeless people screaming. But it all seemed a little off. She asked us if we could do some research on the Charles Camswell Hospital. Little came up, abandoned in 1996 due to asbestos. The movie White Coats was filmed there in 2004. So I thought to myself, if there's a movie that was shot there 2 years ago, it's probably not that bad. But then I started to Google the place, and dozens of stories started popping up.
Oh boy.
I don't know what this word is. Anyways, began. They just can't spell. This began to gain my attention as I started learning more and more about its dark past. The hospital had a sterilization section that looked like it was straight out of 28 Weeks Later.
Oh, hell yeah.
I then consulted with the team and we decided to take a look at the place. After painful negotiations, the property owner at the time agreed that he would give us 2 hours to explore floor 2s and 3 of the hospital. Apparently, the basements have been flooded, so they were really our only option. At around 11 p.m., the 3 of us were escorted by 2 outdoor security guards into one of the garages in the side of the building. They then explained to us that this is the only entrance into the building because of the rest of the doorways have been sealed with barbed wire to keep the homeless population out. I then thought about how that little old lady mentioned that there were screams coming from the hospital. If the place was sealed with barbed wire, how could anyone have gotten inside? One of the security guards said, "Check out the north wing. That's my favorite place," as he winked.
Ugh.
Ew.
My favorite
I
place.
started getting pretty nervous as we approached the door to the main hallway. This was where the security left us. There was nothing in the rooms, everything had been disposed of, just pipes and electrical wiring here and there. There was graffiti littered all over the floors and walls. There was just your typical messages 666, 666, leave us alone. Just your typical place. As I walked up the staircase, I felt chills run down my back for no apparent reason. The place really wasn't that scary. It looked like it could open tomorrow, minus the vandalism. One of their crew members, Josh, began telling me that he felt as if the doorways were shrinking. I never seen that though. This guy's not good at reading. What I thought I saw was what looked like blood in one of the rooms. We went and checked it out, and we couldn't tell if it was blood or smeared paint, but I had that metallic smell that blood gives off. My other crew member, Steven, said we should get out of here and report it to the owner, but I said not until we check out the north side, the favorite place.
Come on now.
We climbed up the next set of stairs and walked to the north side of the hospital. If I make spelling mistakes here, it's because I don't want to proofread this. I don't want to relive this next part ever again in my fucking life. First of all, you
That's
made
awesome.
spelling mistakes before this. Second of all, I'm having regrets.
Oh God.
Floor 3 is where we began to hear the cry of babies and women.
Oh
As we
no.
got closer to the north wing, it seemed like screaming, louder and louder and louder. My crew wanted to leave, but I was so curious what lies in the north wing. When we came to its doors, we decided that we were gonna have a safe word, and if anyone said the safe word, we would all run back to the north wing doorway to safety. Our safe word was monkey piss.
Monkey piss.
We all took a deep breath and began to explore. It seemed just like the other floor, except for the occasional scream or cry of an infant. I came across a sign on a doorway that made me fucking chill to the bone. This was, in fact, the maternity ward. We all heard a voice crying for help. Being really fucking careless, we decided to follow the voice. We were led into a massive foyer. I thought I saw a pile of people in the middle, but as soon as I got closer, I could make out that they were in fact mannequins. Oh,
Oh.
it's lightning out. I know you just
Yeah.
looked at that.
Scared the shit out of me.
All with bleeding eyes. I then thought, this is some stupid joke the security
piss.
guards pulled on us, and we all began to laugh. Then we heard a high pitched voice scream, "Who are you laughing at?"
Monkey piss.
Then the
Monkey
pile of
piss.
mannequins set on fire, which
What?
turned into a massive inferno. Steven screamed, "Monkey piss, motherfucking monkey piss!"
What monkey piss do? What the fuck?
And we booked it to the North Wing entrance. When we all met up, we vaulted it out of the hospital as fast as we could. Once we got out of the hospital, we continued to run onto the field facing the hospital. We then collapsed and watched the fire engulf the third and fourth floors. It wasn't long until firefighters were on the scene. They couldn't enter the building because of the barbed wire, so it looked like a difficult fire to fight. You could hear screams of women and children coming from the place as it burnt. The voices soon after began to turn demonic. One of the firefighters even asked the owner if there were people inside. When the owner found us in the field, he began freaking out. We explained to him what happened, and he said the mannequins were on the fifth floor last time he checked. God, I hate that. He then said he would cover up the story, saying it was a demolition malfunction, and as you would imagine, authorities believed him. The fire went out after a few hours, leaving the maternity ward charred and covered in ash. I've never ever returned to Edmonton since then. Even though it's a massive place with a population of 1 million people, it's too horrific to believe that the hospital still stands to this day, gazing over the city. Demolition malfunction, my ass.
Wanna go?
Yeah,
That's fucked. No.
I'm trying to see if there's like if there's anything like saying, "Yeah, I heard of that fire" or something.
Yeah.
I lived a couple blocks away from this place a few years ago, and it really is a creepy place, even from the outside. I managed to get inside the fence surrounding it because there was a few holes, but the building itself is sealed pretty tight. Not that I wanted to go in anyways.
Gross. That's nasty. That's a good one. I have to
Yeah.
sleep by myself tonight. Just me and Wybie.
Hmm. And then there is like a thing that says, according to this book, the second floor was the surgical ward. According to the book, half the floor in one room is stained with blood. The fourth floor was the psychiatric wing, where it was said that shock treatments were forced upon patients, as well as isolation in special rooms.
Rubber room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
That is some shit. I've got one more.
great.
If you've made it this far, good on you. This one, same poster.
Your new favorite author.
r/no sleep. I love this community. It's one of my favorite Reddit spots, but it's definitely spooky. This one is titled I found a tooth on a white sand beach.
Oh, that's nice for you.
Yeah.
The only teeth I want to find are shark teeth.
Have you ever been to a white sand beach that seemed a little out of place? Rarely do you see them in northern part of the United States or in Canada, but there are a few exceptions. White sand beaches are usually found in tropical areas, and they are a good reason. And there's a good reason why. They're actually created by a very unique fish called what the fuck? Why is that the one word that is not big font? Parrotfish. Few people realize that those paradise-like beaches are the excrements of a creature that eats rocks and coral reefs. Over millions of years, that parrotfish's gastric rejects wash up on the shore and form the scenes you see in travel magazines.
Beautiful.
Love it. Parrotfish, however, only live in warm salt water and stick to the southern hemisphere. So how is it that you can find white sand beaches along certain freshwater lakes and coasts in the north?
I don't know. How is it?
Well, that white sand isn't supposed to be there. If you take a handful of it, you'll notice that there's something different about it. You won't know why, but it won't feel quite like regular sand. I found out the truth while visiting my grandma. Grandma Tabori, who was one of the village elders on the reserve, looked as ancient as the trees in the forest.
That's rude.
That's rude. First you're horny, and now you're really rude to your grandma. She was the serious type, never cracking a joke or straying from her tight morals. The generational gap between us couldn't possibly have been wider, which caused a bit of friction between us. Though I had nothing but respect for her, I was going a little stir crazy being cooped up alone in the cabin with her. So I decided to go to the lake for a relaxing swim. I was delighted to see a white sand beach waiting for me in the sunlight. Large, soft boulders were scattered around as though forming a trail to the water. As I was walking along the shore, I felt a rock slip between my foot and sandal. Thankfully, I was able to avoid stepping on it. After pulling my sandal off, I reached inside to retrieve the rock in question. To my surprise, it wasn't a rock at all. It was a sharp tooth. Huh. Wonder what animal it comes from. I remember thinking, a mountain lion? A wolf? A bear, perhaps? I pocketed the peculiar item so I could make a necklace out of it later.
Ooh, that's so 2000s.
Oh, the puka shell?
Mm-hmm.
When I returned to the village, I gleefully showed my find to Grandma Tabori, hoping she'd be able to identify the animal it came from. The expression on her face suddenly soured, increasing the depth of the creases on her face.
Gosh, she's
This
ruthless.
guy's ruthless, but like very
Great writer, but
great
like so
writer.
savage.
But like, man, lay off, Grandma. Where did you get this? She asked me in a raspy voice. I pointed outside. By the lake, I answered. She grabbed my arm firmly and pulled me towards a wooden bench by the fireplace. I took a seat next to her, wondering what had gotten her in such a state. Do you know how white sandy beaches are made? She asked me. Yeah, actually, there's this freaky fish with teeth that I began, but she cut off using nothing but a stern look. No, child, that is not how they were created here, she replied, pressing her lips together. I will tell you the story, but only if you promise to sit still and listen to the end.
I thought she was going to say, but only if you promise not to tell anyone.
Yeah. I nodded, fairly certain she was about to tell me a long-winded tale about Nooktook. the serpent god who swam in the sky and broke apart the stardust to turn soil into white sand, or some sort of ridiculous mythological tale of the sort. She had a way of drawing out these ancient stories, and I confess I sometimes found my thoughts wandering midway through. Still, the seriousness in her tone was enough to force my attention on her. I was not expecting what she was about to tell me, nor the conviction with which she told the story. I knew that she believed wholeheartedly what she was saying, which made the tale ring eerily true. When the white man came, he held in one hand a gift and carried the shadow of death in the other. His bloodlust and greed knew no bounds, she said. I was a little taken aback, having not expected a history lesson. I knew how it went. Colonials invaded, killing a bunch of Native Americans with infected blankets, and then kept being jerks for a long time. Pretty accurate. They wanted the land and didn't mind killing what they considered to be savages to get it. Still, I listened patiently as she explained in dreadfully boring detail everything I had learned during Thanksgiving week in grade school. Though her alleged death toll rang much higher than the history books claimed. By the time American History 101 was over, I had completely forgotten about the original topic, but then she continued. It wasn't long before the white man learned of the beautiful ivory shores on the lower continent. His settlements already built, he could do nothing but lament the rocky cliffs and brown beaches outside his window. He yearned for the bleached sand of which he heard so many rumors. She continued, pausing to adjust her collar. Go on, I urged, finding myself strangely intrigued. She seemed distressed, but continued nonetheless. They turned to the slain bodies of our brothers and sisters for weeks and months. Their bones and teeth were carefully ground into tiny speckles, which were then spread along the shoreline, she murmured.
Oh boy.
My heart stopped. Was she saying what I thought she was saying? Pay heed to what I have to say here, child. When you walk upon a white sandy beach where white sand should not exist, you walk upon your ancestors. This is why you will find a path of boulders along the shore, for we do not wish to step on the souls of the departed.
Oh.
I looked at the tooth in my trembling hand. I'm going to put this back where it belongs, I murmured. She nodded peacefully. That would be wise. She answered dully, letting the sorrow escape her body through a single teardrop. Twilight had fallen by the time I returned to the lake, covering it in a beautiful orange sheen. I leapt from boulder to boulder until I reached the water's edge. There I placed the tooth right where it belonged. As I turned my gaze towards the water, I saw the faded outlines of my ancestors and offered a simple prayer in the hopes that their souls would one day find peace. So, dear reader, if you find yourself walking along one of those white sandy beaches that shouldn't exist, I implore you to be careful. You're standing not on microscopic rocks, but on a burial ground. I didn't think that one was going to be like that. That was fun.
Interesting. Yeah.
That was a fun little bonus episode.
Yeah. I would love to hear listener stories.
I agree.
We definitely plan on doing an episode of our own stories.
Mm-hmm.
We do each have quite a few
Quite a
spooky
few.
stories.
Quite a few.
But we would love to hear some of your stories, whether it is spooky stories, true crimey, personal stories, or like signs from the other side. If it is anything supernatural or whatever, we want to hear it.
100%.
You can email it to us, and hopefully we will gather enough to do some listener episodes soon. But if you liked this episode, then let us know, and we will maybe sprinkle a bonus episode like this in once a month or
Yeah. I would
whatever.
like that. That'd be fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
It was a good time.
I'm scared.
Happy birthday
Thank you.
in advance. We're getting pretty close to it.
Yeah, like an
getting
hour
late.
away. My God, it's so late. Past my bedtime.
But anyways, stay spooky, True Northers.
Terror is closer than you think.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of True North Terror. If you like our podcast, please help us grow by leaving a rating and review. If you have a story you want us to hear, or your own personal story you want to hear on the pod as a listener story, email us at truenorthterrorpod@gmail.com. Join us next week for another episode of True North Terror.